you really got used to the archery videos that I have been sharing with you. But today I'm gonna talk about the melee weapons and how they are used for self-defense. So the word melee is derived from a French word meaning mix or to mix, which refers to interfere with someone else. So it is a referral to a hand-to-hand combat. In Turkish, we have a very good term for that kind of combat, for that kind of close quarter combat, which is göğüs göğüse, meaning chest to chest, which really describes that kind of combat, which is really close. So these kind of melee weapons are all kind of weapons that you can use against an opponent who is close to you. The longest may be considered as a spear, and the shortest may be a short knife, for example. And here you see the humble collection of mine consists of knives mainly, and there are some axes like this. Most of them I am using for outdoor activities, but there are some exceptional pieces like here, a Dragunov bayonet, which is in fact a collector item rather than a functional tool, because I never use that for an outdoor activity or something. Or you can use, you can see here some knives that were popular ones in 1980s, especially after the famous iconic film of Sylvester Stallone, Rambo, The First Blood. Here you see a type of knife that was quite popular during this period, with a back edge that is also a saw and a hollow grip, in which it is waterproof also, in which you can put some survival items in, and here a compass, as you see. So these multi-purpose knives were really popular. Then the outdoor athletes decided to use different type of knives, like this, for example, with more functional blade and a more ergonomic grip, and with sheaths made of synthetic materials. These all can be used as melee weapons, and this also, which is in fact used to chop wood and still in use in the countryside of Turkey, but this is also quite a good melee weapon if it comes to use these kind of weapons for self-defense. But of course, many of them are not convenient to carry with you. If you are caught with one of those on you, or if you try to get into a shopping mall with one of them, even in Turkey, for example, being detected by detectors is quite common. So when you're caught with such a metal object, which is apparently not a toy, you may be in trouble. So here I'm going to tell you which of these can be used for self-defense purposes and can be carried without being detected, or without making you a suspect in the from the point of view of the police. Other than the collection at home, I have some others here in my office in a display cabinet like this, and here I have a folding knife which I bought from Barcelona. It's a typical melee weapon. These folding knives are called navaja in Spanish and have been widely used in Spain, not only in Catalonia, as a combat weapon. And it is thought that it is originated from Andalusia, or Andalusia as it is said in Spain. And this is the famous karambit knife, an Indonesian fighting knife, which is also common in that area, in Indonesia, Malaysia, in the other Southeast Asian countries. And here there is a Malaysian knife, which actually was used by, or was carried and used by the farmers, and usually engaged in sacrificing animals like goats. So it's not a weapon, but of course, like all the other melee weapons, it can be used for self-defense as well. This knife is called parang in Malay language, and although you may see in some YouTube videos or on Google that it is sometimes called palang sword or palang machete, the blade is not as long as the blade of a sword. This was given by an archer friend to me, and reportedly it has been hand-forged by a blacksmith who is an old man, one of the last representatives of this art in Malaysia. So, but it is a multi-purpose blade which is quite long and would be used for many purposes for sure. A Kazakh mace, which is, I think it's rawhide filled with something, and there are some horn spines on it. But I talked to Murat Gabdusselimov, a Kazakh friend of mine, and asked whether these maces are historically accurate or true, and he said that unfortunately they don't have many remained artifacts which can be a base for such replicas. But this is a gift given to my father-in-law, and he gave it to me for my interest in melee weapons. And this is an original from Africa, the east of Africa. It's called Roonbu, used by Maasais in hunting small antelopes, as well as a self-defense weapon. So on a YouTube video, for example, a Maasai is shown by saying that this is actually for people, not for animals. Batons or war clubs of that kind have been used widely almost everywhere in the world, and made of different materials, wood, metal, or any other material available for a given culture. And in east of Africa, it is still in use, not only as a weapon that is sometimes thrown as well, occasionally thrown, but also as a status symbol. It was so in the Western world as well, as you can see in the portrait of a dignitary with a mace in his armpit. But one of the most recent examples is Moi, the Kenyan president, who used this symbol. This is what I bought very recently and add to my collection. This is actually a walking cane, or meant to be a walking cane. It looks like a walking cane, and as you see, it is quite well decorated, beautifully carved, but at the top of it, or at one of the tips, there is a spherical head instead of a pistol grip, which is more common on walking canes. And it is actually like a cane. You can use it like a cane, but you feel at the first glimpse that this is not quite ergonomic if it comes to giving all your body weight on that, unlike a pistol grip. So it apparently has another purpose. And if as a customer you are smart enough to catch this, this is really meant to be a self-defense weapon rather than a walking cane. And there are a lot of videos you can find on YouTube showing how a regular cane can be used for self-defense purposes. And they, in fact, advocate a cane with a pistol grip, in fact, with a hook grip, so that the defender can use the hook to pull the opponent or to avoid the opponent to attack someone else by just hooking him on the neck or something. But this is actually quite illogical to me, because canes are used by elderlies who are not physically fit. So if you happen to use such a self-defense weapon, you have to have some physical strength. So if an elderly uses this to support his or her body weight, how would he or she find enough physical strength to use this as a self-defense weapon? But if it comes to a middle-aged person like me, who is quite fit and is able to use such a tool as a self-defense weapon and wants to camouflage it, then it is quite a very good tool because you can enter the shopping malls, you can even enter the planes with this. It's not restricted, but as you see, this thing is meant to be used like a mace with these spherical heads, like the ancient war clubs had, or like the maces in the history had. And instead of using this in this way by holding it from the grip, you will hold it upside down and have a spherical head here to hit the opponent one-handed or two-handed like this. And other than that, you can use some other maneuvers or techniques to hit. But in fact, you see that this carving also serves not only for the decoration, but also secures a good grip so that it cannot be taken from your hand by the opponent when you defend yourself. So this is quite a good thing that you can carry everywhere, including planes, and use for self-defense purposes. And if you are an outdoor athlete who likes activities like hiking or hunting or having long walks in nature, then this is also a good self-defense weapon against dogs, for example. You can use that walking off-road in the forest or something, and if it is needed, you can use that not only against attackers, but against dogs and other animals that you can come across in the woods.
I have many bladed weapons as well as blunt trauma weapons in my collection, but if it comes to carrying a self-defense weapon with you, the long bladed weapons like these swords or axes don't count. So these batons as well as knives can be good self-defense weapons if it comes to carrying one with you.
Knives are common melee weapons that you can engage in self-defense, but if you look at knife fighting videos, you're going to see that it requires some technical skill as well, not only physical strength. For example, you will see attacks like this, which is to be able to penetrate into the carcass of your opponent by bypassing the ribs, for example. So it requires some skill. Other than that, you have to know which part of the body you have to attack. And believe me, it is not easy for a mentally healthy person to cut someone. I'm a periodontal surgeon, and believe me, I cannot cut someone cold-bloodedly, even if it comes to protecting myself. But there are some other weapons that can be less lethal and may require less technical skill. And one of them is this, which I'm going to show you, which I carry daily. This is a so-called slapper or slapjack, which was one of those kind of weapons that were popular in late 19th century. So the police officer as well as the outlaws carried that in the United States mainly. This is a leather covered lead ball. This is not a ball exactly, but there are some other variations called Billy Jack or something, which a ball at the tip of this flexible grip. So this is quite short, and with the help of this flexible grip, you can have great momentum and speed when you engage this weapon for self-defense. And this has a short range. You can use that so, or when you are in very close quarter combat, for example, you can even use this like that, or by using the edge. So that's why I like this weapon, because of the wide variety of the techniques you can use. But of course, as I said before, the shorter the range of your melee weapon is, the more you are prone to get injured by the attack. So you may be prepared for being injured more or less physically when the attacker comes so close. But of course, it makes these ethically acceptable as well. If the attacker is that close, then he really deserves to be injured badly. And this kind of weapons really inflicts great wounds and even one blow knockouts if you look at the literature.